Hello everyone. I am here to talk about three very disturbing, strange, eerie horrors that I have recently watched over the last couple of months. Compile them in a little video here, seeing as the themes are kind of similar in that way. All of them seem to have kind of like middle of the road ratings, whether it's like between a 5 to a 6 out of 10, I believe, on Rotten Tomatoes, which is interesting because my opinions of them are all quite varied. As we go along, you'll see I think it starts from really bad to what I feel is really good, in my humble opinion, which isn't really anything, to be honest, but interesting to acknowledge, I feel. So the first one being 2016's The Neon Demon, which I gave a 1 star out of 5. So we are following Jessie, who's an innocent aspiring model who starts working for a modeling agency in Los Angeles and achieves success, becoming increasingly narcissistic as her looks start to get her more bookings. She becomes more famous and well liked within the industry, and of course successful, but she must tackle envious models who vow to topple her and her success out of jealousy and spite, really. I have been wanting to watch this one since it came out, but I kept putting myself off it, really, because I had in my head that it was this terrifying, unsettling movie filled with paedophilia, necrophilia, cannibalism and narcissism. Sure, it was, but it wasn't frightening in the way that I thought it was going to be. I'm sure this was a deeper artsy film about jealousy and preserving beauty at whatever cost, no matter what the consequences to your morality and what ethically is right is. But my goodness, did I find this boring? The answer is yes. At around the last 30 minutes of the movie, it definitely got unnecessarily like gross and bizarre. It felt like they were kind of just chucking out all the shock factor just to kind of woe you, to kind of, almost in a way, it felt like it was trying to trick me to being like, wow, that was a great movie, that was so shocking at the end. But really, it was just odd. Sort of reminded me of this book that I recently read. I forget the author's name, but the story is called The Blood of Youth, which had a similar concept of a girl trying to make it big within the fashion industry and realizes that there's like vampires in the underworld, like sampling and distributing this vial called the blood of youth, which makes everyone young, beautiful, that sort of thing. This just wasn't really my thing, unfortunately, and for so long I thought I would kind of like at least be scared by it, if not enjoy it, but it just didn't really go anywhere. It was kind of slow, meandering. It was just full of beautiful people doing fucked up things, but there was no substance. It was very superficial and shallow, surface level for entertainment and storytelling, unfortunately. And I feel like they could have done so much more to get the point across, whatever that point was. Next up, I watched 2019's Vivarium. This is one that kind of came into my knowledge like within the last couple of months, and since then I've been hooked with trying to figure out where I can find it to watch it. I think we ended up finding it on Amazon Prime, and this one I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. I've got a shorter review for this one. So the synopsis of this film is, while looking for a house, Tom and Gemma get stuck in a maze of identical houses. As they try to figure out a way to escape, they receive a package containing a child and are asked to raise him, and they're basically left with this scenario that they can't leave this maze of houses, this labyrinth, until this child is raised. Basically, you think, okay, this is going to take so many years, but you learn quite quickly that this child is not a normal child and he ages differently to what you would expect, as well as having a lot of other characteristics that are not the average for a normal human child. I'll leave you to discover what that is. This one just left me feeling completely unsettled. It just felt like such an uncanny film, and I've been really obsessed with Uncanny Valley and that phenomenon of late recently, so this was almost like the perfect watch to complement and accompany that kind of research, if you will. I never really knew what the purpose of the movie was. It was another one that was kind of slow until they got to the build up, but in retrospect to looking at this in regards to comparing it with The Neon Demon, this one just had more depth to it and more intrigue. As I say, I never really knew what the purpose of it was, but I just enjoyed this eerie atmosphere and the build up of it all. It just felt tense and uncomfortable, and the ending was so like not predictable and not like a major action-packed scene that it just, all this tension that you had built up just like dissipated, and you were like, oh okay, and it just left me feeling uncomfortable, which I loved. But because there wasn't like this clear goal or a lot of complete interesting moment, shall we say. It was a quieter film. It didn't get like a super high rating for me, so 3 stars, still really good rating for me in my opinion. It was definitely better than the Neon Demon. They're completely different, 2 different films, but if I'm talking about enjoyment and level of depth of 2 very kind of quiet meandering films, this one just definitely had more to it, you know, more substance, I would say. Okay, and the last one is Books of Blood, which was a 2020 release. This was actually like a remake, reimagining of the original. On Letterboxd, I'd seen quite a few people disliked it and they said the original was much better. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's kind of got that middle of the range rating again. Can't remember exactly, it might have been 5.9, it might have been 6.2 out of 10. But what this is about is a journey into uncharted territory through 3 tales called in space and time through the lives of Jenna, Mary and Simon. So this movie gave me scary stories to tell in the dark vibes, which I absolutely adored. I watched that I think maybe last year or like some point early this year, and I really enjoyed it. The first story, Jenna, had some really great imagery pertaining to the yellow wallpaper, which is again something that I have read kind of within recent months, and you know, that idea of seeing faces everywhere, little yellow wallpaper, and the main character Jenna in some sort of mental health crisis was very much apparent in the main themes of the book, the classic book The Yellow Wallpaper. It also reminded me of The Visit as well by M. Night Shyamalan. The second story, Miles, was so sad. It was capitalizing on a mother's grief with this character that comes in claiming to be a medium. The storyline was amazing, it was eerie, it was uncomfortable, and it was super tense. The back and forth narration was super clever, but it was a bit difficult to realise when we were in the past and when we were in the now of the film and the current events. But that blending of the 2 kind of worked, I feel like, what they were going for. This story also helped to remind me that the whole point was a blending of time and space. Like, that's literally within the blurb of what this film was about. So it kind of just took me back, like, oh yeah, this is kind of the point. This is what they're aiming to do, to kind of morph everything into the next one. They're all interconnected, but you don't know how, and it's just a bit of a strange blend. So it did definitely work. The third and last story, Bennett, was more like a conclusion to the first story and a tie-in of all 3. We didn't really get that much of Bennett's tale. It was kind of over within the last, like, the first couple of minutes, I would say. That's how it felt. Actually, logically, I don't know how long his story was, but it just felt like it was over and done quite quickly, and then we got back to how it all wrapped and connected to each other. It was definitely more of a straight to the point one out of all the little short stories. But it was a fantastic wrap up to this creepy, eerie and fascinating trio of stories. I wasn't expecting such low ratings for this one. As I said, there was quite a lot of dislike over on the Letterboxd app for this, but maybe that's because I didn't know there was an original preceding this. This one was the original was created by Clive Barker, so potentially if I go back and check that one out, I might see that that has a lot more merit than this one. Maybe my opinion will still stay that this is quite more enjoyable. We'll have to find out, but I really enjoyed this one at least. That is it for the eerie, tense, atmospheric horror movies of varying enjoyability that I have watched over the last couple of months. We had The Neon Demon, we had the Vivarium, and we had the Books of Blood. Let me know if you guys have watched any of these yourselves, and if you have anything that is similar that you think I might like to check out, do let me know in the comments. I would love to know. Thank you so much for watching. I shall catch you in another video soon. Bye.